Can you share with us what a typical day would look like for you eating?
Of course, I'm susceptible to temptations, and that's why I look into all of these things. So I'm not going to say that I'm perfect, but definitely this is what I try to do, and it might be better to say this is what I try to do. I certainly try to miss breakfast. Fasting is an important aspect for me, and I like to try to live by 2 meals a day. I like to exercise in the morning, and I used to cycle to work for 4 years in a row until I had a bike accident about a couple of months ago. So I went to work. It was a 10-mile ride, about a 40-minute ride to work and 40-minute ride back. So I'd get my exercise that way. My first meal of the day is at around 1 o'clock, 1 or 2. And usually it's in the hospital, and I go for a protein option because one of the things that we never really touched on is that in addition to sugar and refined carbs, one of the most dangerous aspects of modern life is seed oils or vegetable oils. So it almost eliminates me from eating anything that is cooked outside. All restaurants use vegetable oil. So when I go to the hospital, I'm pretty much limited to 1 or 2 protein options. Some beef, some chicken, some fish, and of course, if anything that is breaded, anything that is deep fried is completely a no-no because it'll be filled with vegetable oils, and that's one of the biggest dangers. So I'd get some food out there, but my predominant meal would be when I reach home at around 6, 7, and that would be when I would either cook beef or lamb or chicken, and then depending on the amount of exercise and depending on the day, I would have some carbs. I have a friend who is a vegetarian who has improved his blood sugars A1C from 9.3 to 5.3 by being a good investigator and by preparing vegetarian food that is low in carbs. So he gives me some advice: cauliflower rice, cabbage, lupin flour. So those are the things that I am trying to incorporate in terms of vegetarian patients that I get. I refer them to him. And so I would have some carbs. I would say, depending on the day, I would have between 100 to 150 grams of carbs. Like on Saturday and Sunday, when I would do like a 3-4 hour bike ride, I don't see the benefit of being low carb in that situation. In fact, it could be perhaps a detriment.
Do you notice a difference in performance, say on the bike, when you try and go low carb those days versus higher?
Yes, I think it depends on the athlete, and perhaps I'm not that good an athlete. So for me, for sure, but I have several of my colleagues who are on the bike who come see me professionally. And in them, I see that they can get away with a low carb diet because their fat burning happens at higher and higher heart rates. So in other words, even at 85, 90% heart rate, they're predominantly fat burning. I am perhaps not in that category. Now, I have not done any formal experimentations with VO2 max or with respiratory exchange ratios to figure that out. But like if I'm on a group ride with a fast group with the racing team, and my heart rate is running into the 160s and have average heart rate at the end of the ride of about 135, 140 for 3 to 4 hours, if I don't consume enough carbs, I will definitely have a very poor day on the bike. The higher the intensity of exercise that you're doing, you definitely would have to consume more carbs for most individuals. Now, there are some individuals in whom they get fat burning even at very high heart rates. But you have to figure that out yourself. I take only 2 supplements. I take magnesium and I take vitamin D. I take vitamin D with K2 through all the winter months, which would be starting sometime in October and ending sometime in March. And then I vary my vitamin D intake based on the level of exposure I have to midday sun. If I have a lot of exposure to midday sun, then why do I need a supplement? I try not to take it on those days. I do take magnesium, and I think older people should take magnesium. Magnesium is reportedly very deficient in our diet. And I find 2 benefits of magnesium in me and in my patients. So in me, the reason I take it is that it reduces cramps on the bike. The second thing is that I think it helps me sleep better. In my patients, the predominant reason for giving magnesium is to reduce the risks of irregular heartbeats. A lot of people are older, they have heart disease that puts them at higher risk of atrial fibrillation and premature beats, and magnesium is one of the ways to reduce that. Not a fan of fish oils. I think fish oils are best obtained by eating sashimi or tuna or salmon, because fish oils get rapidly oxidized. I think processing of fish oils is a concern of mine because the amount of oxidation and aldehydes in commercially available fish oils is probably very high. The magnesium should be glycinate or taurate, chelated magnesium basically, because that's the one that gets absorbed. Magnesium oxide is not something that gets absorbed well, or magnesium sulfate. So I try to stay away from those. Those are more remedies for constipation because that's not something that gets absorbed. In terms of dosage, I would say, I must say that magnesium is not a necessary component for everybody to take. So if a young person comes, they don't have any palpitations, they don't have any cramps, they don't have any sleep issues, I'm not going to push magnesium on them. But if you have any of those and you want to see whether it helps you, then I would say take 250 milligrams either once or twice a day, before bed and in the morning, because it helps with my cramps too. I'm impressed by the data on EPA, the so-called VASIPA study. But that study has not been corroborated by another study. And by nature, I'm very suspicious of the pharmaceutical industry putting out data truthfully. So if somebody comes to me and VASIPA or EPA is a kind of a fish oil, and if they are on high doses of EPA or VASIPA, then I don't try to actively take them off of it because the data from that study is impressive. It is very expensive. And since it's very expensive, I don't prescribe it myself. And many insurance companies don't cover it. I'm not a fan of any of the other supplements. Many people take ginseng, vitamin C, vitamin E, or multivitamins. I really don't see a need for those. I think you're just wasting a lot of your resources that you could put into better nutrition that you can buy, better food that you can buy, or other things you can enjoy.